Welcome. All right, so let's get started. And in this week's episode, I didn't do my introduction, did I? I don't have a stable introduction for those of you who are wondering, but my name is Dave. I sometimes call myself Dungeon Master Dave, not to be confused with any other Dungeon Master Daves that may exist. It's purely coincidental and not intentional, but I am a Dungeon Master, and my name is Dave. And today we're going to continue with the setting development. We're going to talk a little about character development and background. That's what we're going to tackle today. So, what is a character background? Let's get development out there and just strictly have it be character background. Because development is something that happens as the story progresses, as you level. This is just strictly going to be background, the backstory. Now, I started my days in 2nd edition, and there wasn't much for character background. So I had a one friend. His name was Nate. He was the first DM that ever dungeon mastered for us, and he wanted us to write our own background stories. So that was cool. It got you involved. And what he would do is he would reward everyone EXP for writing a background story. The better the stories, or the more varied they were, he might give you more experience. So if it was a really good story, he'd give you more experience than just writing it. And what I think this did was it motivated players, for one, to come up with a background for their character, and for two, to actually try to make it interesting, not be like he's a guy that was just kind of around and did stuff. All right, you did the assignment. I guess you get experience. Or, you put in all this time, all this effort, and voila, you have this pretty cool background. He was raised this way, and this happened to him at this age, and then he did this, and that's why he's currently pursuing that, and this is where he is today. Oh well, you've fleshed out a really good story, so you get more experience. So that's one thing. That's how I was kind of introduced to the background in Dungeons and Dragons. In third, I don't believe it changed much. Fifth, however, they kind of have this optional rule. Backgrounds, I don't believe you have to have one for a character. They're just kind of something that you can additionally tack on. But I feel like maybe 99% of players do it. Since it's there and it adds extra things for your character, just put it on. And a background in D&D 5e is kind of like a synopsis. It's like, hey, you're a medic and this is what you used to do, and almost like The Sims. Here's your personality traits. It's like, oh, this person's very outgoing, or this person gets very angry and feels this way about something, and their flaw is that they can't do this. It's an interesting take on it. Um, I like their background system. Do I think it's complete? And by complete, I mean like something that really fleshes out a detailed character background. Not really, but it's simple and it works, and it reaches a wide audience, and I think that's why they did it. Because if you notice, D&D 5e is it's like a love letter to the older editions, but at the same time, it's like casual. It opens the doors for more people. It's like the casual players like Dungeons and Dragons, and that's not a bad thing because it allows a larger audience to come in, and that's kind of like what the backgrounds in D&D are. They're like, oh, we'll take this, um, brief little description, little synopsis here. You get like these skills, language, or tools, and here's some personality traits about how you feel about the world, and of course you can make your own custom ones. However, in developing a setting, you can come up with your own background traits, and they don't have to be like the Wizards of the Coast ones. They could be completely different. And when I develop background traits, and this is something I've been doing since I started DMing, I didn't initially come up with it in 2003. I probably took a few years, but what I like to do for a character when I decide their background is take several things about the character. The first thing I want to know is your caste, right? Or it could be your class in society, whatever you want to call it, but your caste. I want to know what that is. Excuse me. Um, and a caste is kind of like where in society were you born? Like what position on the totem pole are you basically? Now, there are certain countries throughout history who might have long cast systems that might have dozens of different levels, like with like maybe the highest royalty on top and then the lowest peasants on the bottom. But I personally like to keep it basic. You know, you have like your barbarians. That's right. Remember, if you've ever paid attention to my earlier episodes, you would notice I said barbarians aren't a class in my game, but they'll show up somewhere else. Boom, right here. Technically, it could be class, but not classes in like, your characters, what they do, but like, like your as in cast. Yeah, that's. But anyway, enough of being silly. So you have your barbarians. These are like your people that civilized society sees as savages. Just kind of like I guess the Europeans that wall themselves in, or the other people wall themselves in, kind of saw like the Scandinavian and such barbarians. That's kind of what these are. They also have your peasants. These are your poor folk. They live off of coppers. They do the worst jobs. You know, they rake shit all day. Some of them that is a job. You have your commoners. Now, most people would say that commoners probably could constitute as peasants, but in my game world, and I'm sure in some societies, I like to see the commoners as like the middle class. This is where they live comfortably. They don't have the best lives, but they definitely don't have the worst lives whatsoever. And these are the commoners. They'll be the equivalent of like the middle class. Then there's your nobles. These are your people that have money, they have lands, they have wealth, they have power. Um, Barnes and Nobles, whatever. I don't know. It just looks weird to me. But yeah, these have lands, wealth, and power, and they're one of the cast. And then another portion is the royalty. Yes, you can play kings, queens, emperors, empresses, czars, monarchs, whatever your heart desires. It's all part of the character background. And a slave. So, I generally have about 6 base casts, I believe. Let me make sure. Uh-oh, you guys, you folks might get a sneak peek at some of the stuff I'm working on. None of this is finalized. It's all just kind of, yep, 6. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And it kind of gives an idea of where your character is on the totem pole, like how does society view them? And it can help with role-playing options a little more. Of course, there are mechanical benefits that each one of these will get. Like the Barbarian, for example, what their cast gives you, and this is only one of the features, is your hit die is a die grade higher. So if you're a Barbarian Warrior, instead of rolling D10 for hit points, you can get that D12. If you're a Barbarian Rogue, instead of D8, you have D10 hit points. The Barbarian are a little more hardy folk. They also, their second class feature is they have advantage in saving throws in harsh environments. So if like really hot weather or really cold weather, maybe I should have it be a initial choice for the player, like either hot or cold. Like are you the barbarians from the north where it's really cold, or are you barbarians from the south where it's really hot and you live in arid deserts? Things like that. But that's just an example, and I think it definitely give a lot of role playing potential. Characters might look at the barbarian outsider, especially in a city, and be like, "Oh, what's that uncivilized person doing in here?" Or a peasant, and they could be talking to some nobles and be like, "Oh, where you peasant? You smell. Why don't you go rake the poop out of my backyard?" Stuff like that. Um, yep. Next up is profession. Oh, let me put another line right down here. No, you don't have a number. There we go. What did your character do? I'm not going to list them all because I have a whole crap load of them to choose from. Is it realistic to keep them all? Probably not, but they're all kind of in the template for now until I can narrow them down and have ones that I want to keep. And this is a job your character may have held. Were they a farmer, maybe a cobbler, a fletcher, an alchemist, a teacher, um, so on and so on. This is what they would have done in their life before they decided to become an adventurer. So we'll put a couple options down. These are just a few examples. Teacher, alchemist, blacksmith, uh, Fletcher, cook, and these are certain crafts may be available to the character. Like for example, the teacher might have access to some knowledge skills, while the blacksmith will have access to blacksmith tools and might be able to make some equipment with the proper materials. An alchemist make some potions, cook, make really good meals that might give status effects and bonuses. These are these are things that I always found that flesh out the game a bit more, especially or not the game but the character. Like, well, what did your ranger do before uh, life adventuring? And someone might look and be like, oh well, he was a hunter, so he's always spent his time in the woods, or and obviously that's why he's a ranger because he's been hunting and he's kind of tuned himself with nature, blah blah blah, and just I don't know. It goes from there. It's really whatever the player can come up with and how creative they want to get. Um, Another one I like to look at is deity. Did I spell that wrong? Yes, I did. It was E before I. I figured. Who do they worship? Right? Why? So caste, position in society, profession. What was their role before adventuring? Who or what do they worship? Who or what do they worship? These are all important. This is going to be a short episode at this rate. I'll be done in about 10 minutes. Hey, makes up for last week, right? Where I was about 2 hours and it was like, crap, I don't want to watch that. Do I want to go back and watch that? But yes, deity. This will describe who or what your character worships, what religion they might have grown up in. And yes, there is an option for none. You could literally choose no, you don't believe in anything. Or you can be kind of optimistic to the idea and be an agnostic. Or you can choose like a specific, religion. So let me write these down. So you can choose atheism, agnostic. You could be a deist, where you have a god or a set of gods. Uh, you can worship yourself, self worship, worship someone else. Wow, worship. Wow, wow. Or you can worship material possessions. And these are all going to have various effects. They might not have anything over burdening. But say, for example, you worship yourself, maybe you get +1 to an attribute of your choice, and that's it. Worship somebody else. An example might be, all right, maybe I get +2 to an attribute uh, of my choice, as long as that person is around, and within a certain distance to me. Would it be smart to make it a party member? Oh man, that could get broken real fast now that I think about it. The whole party could be people of party that all worship each other in a circle. That's what testing is for. That's what testing is for. Worship material possessions, like someone who's in love with gold, and gold is their god, and that's what they just live by. Like as long as they have gold, they have whatever that gives them that adrenaline rush. And these are, of course, just examples. Like maybe an atheist might get bonus experience or something like that, since they don't spend their time worrying about the afterlife or philosophizing in it. An agnostic, I don't know. But those are just all thoughts of who or what do they worship. And last but not least, when it comes to character background, and I like this one, is the zodiac. What are they born under? What star sign? And I have a list of about 13 zodiacs. They're all mythological creatures, like a Pegasus, a unicorn, a manticore, a chimera, a kraken, a leviathan, a phoenix, a dragon. And it's like, what mythological creature sign are you born under? And of course, that will also give you like certain like skills, buffs, powers. It really depends, on the sign you're born under, what you might get. But all these things add up, and they create your background there. And this explains your character background. This is all like role playing. So Zodiac 2 also is related to kind of like your birthday. Oh, and I'll put like mythological creatures related to birthday. There we go. So, for example, in the United States, we have zodiac sign Sagittarius and Gemini and Aquarius and Scorpios and all that. Um, and the Norse, they had zodiac signs. Those were based on the animals of the forest. They might have had elk and badgers and wolves. I'm sure many civilizations had their own zodiac. Oh yeah, the Chinese zodiac, for example, has the pig, the dragon, the dog, the ox. So it's kind of like a little concept that I came up with based off of those ideas, and put it in the world. I mean, I guess the zodiac could change depending on where you are in the world, but I just like one uniform zodiac. Don't want to get that too detailed with it, and I think it should be fine. You know, find a way to fit, or if worse comes to worse, you can like if it needed to change, it's like all right, maybe these three creatures or four creatures, are this zodiac, and these four are this, and each like this zodiac belongs on this side of the planet, this one over here. But I'm not gonna get that in depth with it. So, for example, mythological creatures, which I already mentioned, unicorn. Wow. Pegasus. Manticore. What else did I say? Griffin. Dragon. Sure, we'll put 6 for all of these. A cook and courier. Basilisk. See? So now let's say you're making your character, right? All right, character's an elf, warrior. Oh, and then you get to this part. It's a little more in depth than going. All right, he was an acolyte, or he was a soldier, or he's a sage. Um, like I said, that's pretty easy. It's good because it's open to a wide audience base and it's quick. But this is something I've kind of done for years, well, a long time. And when I think background, this is what I thought. So when D&D introduced backgrounds like that, I was kind of intrigued. I was like, oh, cool. They've introduced the concept of backgrounds. I've been doing that for a while. I wonder how it compares to what I've been doing. And it's like I said, it's its own thing, and it's cool, and it's fast, it's efficient, and a lot of people can do it very quickly. This might take a little bit more time. The Zodiac 2 is also random. Like the default rule would be you'd have to roll a die, and it wouldn't be like you take a 20-sided die and then boom, there's your Zodiac. It would have to be a number generator die, just because there's 364 days in the calendar year. I kind of like mimicked ours. I think ours is 365, but I would have it be 50. Each month would have 28 days, and there'd be 13 months, and there wouldn't be that one extra day that hangs over. I'm thinking of toying with a leap year, but that would add a 14th zodiac sign that would come around once every 4 years. But let's just off topic. So you'd roll like a 1d 1000 something, and then whatever number it lands on is what your zodiac is. There'd be like a numbers next to it. Like let's say, for example, unicorn is the first. It's not, but let's say it is. It might say 1 to like like I don't know, 72. We'll say, for example. So if it lands on anywhere from 1 to 72, you're under the unicorn zodiac. You don't get to pick your zodiac. That is rolled. You get to pick all your other ones though. That's fine. I really don't care. Like your cast. He could be like, you know what? Yeah, so my elfin warrior, he's royalty, he's a king, but his kingdom was burned down. All right, so what was his profession? Well, since he was royalty and he was the king, you know, then it was like, crap, does a profession really work? You know, I might have something, I don't know. I have a profession list. Let me go look at it. Not that it's important to the stream. These are all just things, of course. That was the most like unprofound statement ever. These are just things. Wow, don't send that guy to give a speech at the university. Let's see. I don't know what would be good. Well, if he's a king, does he really need a profession? No, right? Because he's king. That is his profession. So maybe ruler would be a profession, like leader. Leader. So all right, he's royalty, and he's a leader. Psst, come on, get out of here. Just a bunch of delicate things around. I don't need a cat in the room at the time. Let him in once we're all cleaned up, but sometimes he's so needy. Cute little guy, but needy. So yeah, royalty. All right, so our elven warrior is king. So leader profession. He does believe in something, not self-worship. He's not a narcissist, and he's not infatuated with someone else. We'll say he believes in one of the gods that will be made, and of course there'll be, several different faiths, maybe more. And then you roll the die. He's born. Oh, okay. He's born on the sign of the Catoblepus. I don't think that's one of the zodiac, but we'll just say it is. Um, there we go. That character's background's done. It gives you a role play potential. You know, so your part of your faith is part of your role play there. What you used to do, like, well, I'm a leader, so people are going to look up to me. I'm royalty, and people are going to, see that when they look at me. Maybe I have an insignia, or the way I dress, or the way I talk, or the way I act. And that's pretty much it. 20 minutes. This episode is probably my shortest one yet. So, wait, do I have any comments? I'm sorry. Ah, yes, here we go. Hello, hey. 1552, born under the Pegasus. I'll hook the goblin, served as a chef within his tribe, serving his tribe, chefing with absolute devotion. There you, Mike the Canadian. See, you get it. I like it. And hopefully you're still here. If not, I apologize. The way my stream is set up, I'm trying to get it on the phones. Oh, wait, it did show up. It was acting up earlier, and I couldn't see the comments on here, but now they show up. Yeah, I don't know how long you've been on the stream, maybe from the beginning. This is my shortest one, as I said. I do have other episodes on my YouTube. They are archived there. The first two are about an hour. The second one is 2 hours. I got a little carried away last week. I was talking about classes and how to arrange those for custom setting. Oh, you came in the last 5 minutes? Terribly sorry, friend. Um, this was a very short episode, but I do appreciate you coming in. If you don't mind, I'll link the YouTube quick if you did want to check out my older stuff. And if you did find interest in this channel, or at least something that you've taken out of it, give a follow. But let me just drop a link real quick if you don't mind. And then I will be signing off. Honestly, I thought this topic would be a little longer, but it didn't need to be long-winded, which is good. To the point. Alright, and there's the archived ones if you are interested. Well, as I said before, thanks for stopping by, and if you're catching this at a later date, I appreciate watching the video, and please leave some feedback. Thank you and have a good night.